The VolQuest.com positional previews roll on. We're talking about the coaching staff, and it sure has changed a lot since last year. In comes Jay Graham to coach running backs. Joe Ossovet moves into the on-field role as the tight ends coach. Brian Niedermeyer shifts to linebackers. You bring in Jimmy Brumpaugh to coach defensive line, Shelton Felton to coach outside linebackers. I think Jeremy Pruitt likes the makeup of this staff, not just from a recruiting standpoint, but I think from a camaraderie standpoint.
Well, I do. I think there's some chemistry there that he likes. Here's the other thing, too. I mean, you just talked about a lot of changes, but there were no changes at the coordinator position.
That's right.
So you got a lot of continuity going there, okay? So, and I'm not saying that position coaches are not important, because they are, but it's easier to get those guys up to speed as opposed to coming in and bringing in a new defensive coordinator. Look, it's Jeremy Pruitt's defense, but Derek Ansley's got his handprint on things, and I think you saw as the year went on some of his handprint and some of this growth in the defense. Jeremy Pruitt was a big part of that, no question, but I think those two worked much better together the second half of the season than they probably did the first half of the season, as they were getting back into the groove with each other, doing things. Then on the offensive side of the ball, Jim Chaney, his second year here to continue to immerse his system and continue to build there. I think Jeremy Pruitt has a reason to be happy with staff. Now look, Philip Fulmer's made a huge financial investment in these guys, okay? So they ought to give you a lot of results, okay, because you're paying a lot there. But I do think there's some significance in having returning coordinators, particularly in a year where you don't have spring practice, okay, and you've been limited with your football team in terms of how much you can be around them. You're not trying to install a bunch of new stuff. It's very familiar from a year ago.
I think Brian Niedermeyer moving to defense is an underrated part of all this, because I think Niedermeyer feels more comfortable on the defensive side of the ball. That's what side he worked on at Alabama. I think he feels way more comfortable over there. Not to say he wasn't comfortable at tight end, but I think he was always learning the tight end position, whereas I think he goes into the linebacker and he knows a lot more about it, about what Jeremy Pruitt wants out of his linebackers. He's still going to learn. It's not to say that he knows everything, because I don't think he does, but I think he was way more comfortable and way more knowledgeable coaching linebackers, which is why I think when you saw him the one day we were out there at spring practice, it was like, glove on hand. It just seemed more natural to him. And Joe Ossovet, having him in more of a prominent role on the offensive side of the ball, coaching tight ends, but also with game plan and stuff, I think helps this. And then throw in Jay Graham, who, and I love David Johnson, but David Johnson really wants to coach wide receivers. Even though he's not at Florida State, he's still a wide receivers coach by heart. Jay Graham's a running backs coach.
Well, and again, I think the Ossovet Jim Chaney relationship is a good one, because I think both of them can bounce a lot of ideas off of each other, which is very helpful. I think Will Friend and Jim Chaney have a much better rapport, because look, Jim Chaney's going to get involved in coaching the offensive line. I think Will understands that. I think their chemistry with each other in year two is better. Jeremy Pruitt's going to spend a lot of time with the linebackers.
Yep.
Okay. That's Derek Ansley's going to have the secondary. Jeremy will still do his stuff with his corners, but he's going to be hands-on with those linebackers, because he believes in helping Niedermeyer and Shelton Felton grow in those positions, and he's going to oversee that a little bit. So I think you said it best. There's camaraderie, there's chemistry there, which I think is good for this team and is good for this program, particularly because everything about this year is weird.
Yep.
Okay, everything is unusual, everything is different. I think there's a stabilization, if you will, for the players, and that the coaching staffs, while it's different, it's very, very much the same that it's been. I think the one unknown a little bit is Jimmy Brumpaugh. How does Jimmy Brumpaugh fit in? He's coached in this league. Tracy Rocker did a nice job developing those defensive linemen. I understand his recruiting part wasn't there, but you can't say that defensive line didn't get better under Tracy Rocker. How do they develop under Jimmy Brumpaugh? I think they will develop well, because he's a proven coach, but that's the one position maybe where you got more unknowns than you do maybe some of the other position moves.
All right, Tennessee feels better about their staff. We'll see if it translates to more wins this fall.